Good afternoon, students. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's wait 1 2 minutes so that others can join. Till then, I'll share my screen. So last class we studied about Lime, right? So basically, the module two is about your module two. Let me share first. Reading view on normal view. Screen is visible. My screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So basically, last class we studied about. So the main unit number two is about motor, about lime motor, cement motor, and there was one more word, aggregate also. Okay, that I have not mentioned. In aggregate, only tests are mentioned. So that you have to use. You have got in your transportation one and transportation two lab. So that will be your kind of one kind of assignment you study that. Let me add students. Okay, let me unlock the meeting. Okay. So basically, module 2 is about lime and cement mortar and about aggregate. Aggregate, there were some tests. All the tests you have got in transportation 1 and transportation 2 lab. So you go through that by yourself. Okay. So let's continue. How many students join? Okay. Just wait. Let's wait 1 more minute. Then we'll start. Okay. Okay. Only 23 students join. CR of both section is if CR of both section is in this class, please inform that those who have the selective join the class. Okay, let's start. We can't win more. So basically, we'll start with the definition of motor. What is motor? Okay, it is a workable paste used to bind construction blocks together and fill the gap between them. The blocks may be stone, brick, concrete blocks, etc. So basically, motor it worked as a binder material also. Mortar is mixing of binding material, water and sand. So when you mix cement with sand and water, it gives you mortar. Binding material can be cement. So here it is. Binding material can be cement, can be lime, can be any other material. Okay, so it is a mixture of binding material, water and sand. It is similar to concrete, but it do not contain coarse aggregate. That is the difference between concrete and mortar. That a mortar does not have these coarse aggregate, but your concrete has this coarse aggregate, binding material, water, sand plus coarse aggregate. Okay, it becomes hard when it sets, resulting in a rigid aggregate structure. As we discussed in the last class, that so motor takes some time to get hardened. Okay, motors are usually let me shift the screen. Yes. So motors are usually named according to the binding material used in their preparation. So if you say, if you are using binding material cement, so it will be cement motor. If you are using binding material as lime, so it will be lime motor. They are essentially required for masonry work, plastering and pointing. So we'll see what is pointing, what is plastering and what is masonry work. Now, so these are the functions, some functions of the motor: to bind together the bricks or stones properly so as to provide strength to the structure, to form a homogeneous mass of the structure so as to resist all the loads coming over it without disintegration. Okay, these are the some functions that it binds together, plus it also takes some amount of load. Then what an ideal motor should be. These are the, or you can say, characteristics of a motor. Okay, it adheres completely and durably to all the masonry unit to provide stability. It should be remains workable long enough to enable the operative to set the masonry unit right to line and level. That means it should have good water. It should be water resistance. It should be first one is the durable. Next is water resistance. Then stiffens sufficiently and quickly to permit the laying of the units to proceed smoothly and provides rapid development of strength and adequate strength when hardened. So it should it is saying that it shouldn't take much time in getting strengthened, and when it is getting when adequate strength, it should have adequate strength, plus it should quickly harden comparison to other motors. Its resistance to the action of environmental factors such as frost, abrasion, and the destructive effects of chemical salt such as sulfate attack. So it should be resistance due to wet moisture, abrasion, or the due to freezing, which you can call frosting. So it should be resistance from all the chemical attack on it. Then it should resist a penetration of rain. Obviously it shouldn't allow the rainwater to come to another side. It should accommodate movement of the structure. Okay, when you place, if you when you see the construction of a wall, this brick blocks are placed one by one. Bricks are placed, you must have seen they apply some paste over it, so that is mortar. So it shouldn't allow the movement of the structure once it is hardened. Okay, it should accommodate irregularity in size of masonry. Suppose some bricks are broken from some parts, so if you just fill the gap with that masonry, so it should make some regularity in between them. It should contribute to overall aesthetic appearance also, and it should be the last one. It should be cost effective. So these are some pictures of motors. This motors as binding material, plastering. This is the cement mortar. They are using cement mortar. Earlier, when cement was not came in industry, so people used to use the lime. Okay, so mortar as building material, plastering, pointing. See, this is the pointing. They are filling the gaps. These are provided on masonry joints. Okay. Okay. So and this is the cement slurry. Now workability may be defined. Okay. There is a term workability. The your motor should be workable. Okay. That it shouldn't be you can say it shouldn't be very fluidy. It shouldn't be very stiff. So there is a term you should know about the workability. I don't know if you got the subject concrete technology or not. Have you heard the term workability?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So it is defined as the behavior of a mix in respect to all the properties required during application, subsequent working and finishing. Ease of use. They want it adheres or slides on the trowel. So your motor should be workable. the ease of spread on the masonry. So you can spread, suppose if you are using for plastering, it should be easily get attached to the masonry, and placing should be good. So these are the points for its it is defining about its workability. That basically, in short, if you say, your cement mortar should be workable. This is water retentivity and air content. It is a property of mortar that resists water loss by absorption into the masonry units and to the air in conditions of varying temperature, wind, and humidity. The air content of the mortar in its plastic state is also important. In order to achieve good durability, it is necessary that there is sufficient air content to enable freeze-thaw cycles to be registered without disrupting the matrix of the material. So it should be your water resistant, and it should to achieve great durability, it is necessary that there is sufficient amount of there should be a water content, some amount of, sorry, air content, so that it can breathe. Now, stiffening and hardening. The progression of stiffening defined as it is defined in the European standard as workable life, refers to the gradual change from fresh or plastic motor to setting or set motor. So when your motor isn't fresh, it is in kind of a semi-liquid form. Then after it hardens, it turns into plastic form. Okay. Hardening refers to the subsequent process whereby the set motor progressively develops strength. So when the motor gets hardened, it started developing its strength. Now that is here, it is shows the properties of hardened motor, that durability, it should be durable. Salt from material against wall, salt in bricks and mortar, air becomes airborne chemicals, salt from backing. Suppose if you have constructed a wall, you have plastered and you have provided some soil, so it may get give pressure, or it may give some, there may be some chemical reaction. So you have to take care of that. Okay. Now about the, sorry. Now about the compressive strength. The use of too much cement will produce a more rigid motor. Suppose there should be a standard proportion. So when you construct this concrete M20, M25 concrete, so there is a ratio of cement, sand, and coarse aggregate, right? So in motor also there is a ratio you should follow to make a standard motor. So if you use too much cement, so it will give you more rigid motor, which may result in vertical cracking passing through units and motor joints as stress are imposed. So if you use if you use too much or if you use too much of this cement, it will be lead to a vertical cracking. Okay. Now use of the appropriate motor should not result in cracking, but any that does occur will tend to follow the joints, which will be much easier to repair. So if you use appropriate motor, there may be cracking, so but the cracking will be through joints, not the vertical cracking. So this represents your too much of cement or the faulty construction, you can say. But if you use a proper amount of mortar, then there will be some cracking. It may occur cracking due to some natural hazard, or may any other significant reason. So the cracking will be along the joints. Okay. So these are the standard ratio for masonry work. You should use cement sand is in the ratio of 1.6 to 1.8. For plastering masonry, you should use 1.3 to 1.4. And for plastering concrete, it will be 1.3, 1 is to 3 to 1 is to 3 to 1 is to 3. Or for pointing, you should use cement sand is in the ratio of 1 is to 2 to 1.3. Now the flexural strength. Flagellate strength of the water. Sorry. So this is the if you see the figure, applied loads to a masonry construction. So if you apply a compressive stroke, traditional masonry construction tended to be massive relative to modern structures, typically with very thick walls. This means that the mass or bulk generally resists the various forces applied to it. The development of modern masonry units and advances in mortar technology have led to more slender structure which are more vulnerable to lateral forces. Example: wind. So lateral structures. If you see this figure, so when in this figure, if you see the construction of the wall, the compressive force won't affect much, but it will have an effect of lateral force. So for that also, if you do a plastering, you have to see the thickness of that plastering or use of that mortar should be in good proportion, so that it can give you some flexural strength also, the strength due to lateral load, you can say. Now mixing the motor. So motor mixing equipment, this is the motor pan stand. This is the stand, you can place this motor. This is what water hose, fire. These are the some equipments. The sand and cement have to be thoroughly mixed. So how can you mix the motor? So this is the process they have shown. The sand and the cement have to be thoroughly mixed by hand or in a mechanical mixer before adding any water. So you have to mix the dry cement and sand first. After Before mixing water, do not use dirty water or water from puddles or ponds, as this could impart the final strength of the motor. Yes, very important. You shouldn't use dirty water or water from ponds, because water may carry some impurities which may react with the composition of cement, and it may lead to deterioration or changes in its strength of the cement, and you may not get the final strength as you need. Okay, so you should not use dirty water or water from ponds. You should use fresh water. You can say tap water you can use. Okay, locally available water you can use, but you shouldn't use dirty water. So after dry mixing, similarly, keep any sugar containing liquid such as soft drinks well away from the mix. Okay, sugar even in small amounts seriously imparts the setting ability of the cement. Okay, so you shouldn't use soft drinks or any other different drinks. That's how after mixing dry, you can just add the water. The proportion of sand and cement should be good. Water you can take the proportion of the weight, how much weight you are taking, and it shouldn't be very fluidy or it shouldn't be very solid. Now types of motor. So, as we discussed earlier, the line is there. Based on the depending upon the type of the binding material, there will be different types of motor. So here you have a lime motor, lime surki motor, mud motor, cement motor, or pozzolana motor. You pozzolana, they have right pozzolana, or you can say pozzolana motor. Okay, so let's continue this part. Now these are the functions. Okay, I have pause. Okay, these are the function of sand and so what is the function of sand in motor? So it reduces shrinkage of the building material. It prevents development of cracks in the motor. It helps in making mortar and concrete of desired strength by varying its proportion with the binding material. Then a well-graded sand adds to the density of mortar and concrete. So it is here it is showing what is the function of sand in mortar. Next is the function of surki. It provides brick color and make the mortar economical. Okay, basically, let's start with the lime mortar. It is a type of mortar composed of lime and an aggregate such as sand mixed with water. So, as you know, you have two types of aggregate: fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. So, sand is considered under fine aggregate. So, lime mortar is a composition. It is a mixture of lime, which is your binding material. Next is your Next is your aggregate, which is sand, and then mixed with water. It is primarily used in construction of building, originally built using a lime mortar, but maybe use an alternative to ordinary Portland cement. So earlier, when there was not cement in the industry, so lime were used as plastering and other activities. Now, which you nowadays which you used instead of this, you used this cement mortar. So this is a process of slaking of lime. When water is added to quick lime in sufficient quantity, lime cracks, swells and falls into powder form due to the chemical reaction, thus forming calcium hydrate. Okay, aggregate carbonation, burning and slaking. Now, what are the types of lime? Number one is quick lime. So how can you produce quick lime? It is also known as burnt lime. It is widely used chemical compound. It is a white, caustic, alkaline crystalline solid at room temperature, usually obtained from limestone. So from limestone, quick lime is obtained. A lime kiln is used to produce quick lime through the calcination of limestone. So this is the reaction you must have got in your 11th and 12th very often. Heat of hydration in the chapter in the top under the topic of heat of hydration. So when you apply a water in this limestone or sorry calcium carbonate, there is heat generated and it will dissipate calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. This calcium oxide is your quick lime. Now hydrated lime, again it is created by adding water to quick lime. So when you add in calcium oxide, when you add water in order to turn oxide into hydroxide, combine with water, it will give you so when you add water in the quick lime, it will give you calcium hydroxide. So this is sold in most builders merchant as bags of dry powder. After soaked in just enough clean water for at least 24 hours, it makes a lime putty. So the putty you use, it is nothing but your hydrated lime. This putty may be of a poor quality due to carbonation of the powder occurring in the bags before use. And next is hydraulic lime. A specialized form of limestone is used to make hydraulic lime. The limestone is mixed with clay, then fixed in a kiln to high temperatures. This process removes much of the moisture from the lime and also produces mineral byproducts known as silicates. The remaining limestone and silicates are combined to form hydraulic lime. Now, hydraulic lime offers a number of benefits over traditional lime mortar blends. The most important is its ability to cure and harden when wet. So basically, hydraulic lime may be it used in your hydraulic structures, big dams, then big this structures where oil is being crude. You must have seen some structures, some refinery structures over the sea or ocean. You can see. So there, hydraulic lime is used. It is a paste prepared by mixing lime, sand, or you can say surki in suitable proportion in addition to water. So if you don't have sand, you can use surki also. If surki is to be added in lime mortar, the equal proportion of sand and surki should be mixed with lime. These mortars are inferior to cement mortars in strength as well as water tightness. So these are not superior to cement mortars, these are inferiors in terms of strength as well as tightness. These mortars should not be used for underground works as they set in the presence of carbon dioxide and break up in damp conditions. So this lime cannot be used in damp conditions. Okay, students are still coming. So these mortars should not be used for underground works. This type is used for construction work above ground level, that is for exposed position. For superstructure you can use, but you cannot use this lime mortar for substructure. These are few examples where lime were used in old structures. Now the mud mortar. It is nothing but mixing of some clay and soil with water, some soil and clay plus water. The soil which is used for preparing mud mortar should be free from grass, pebbles, etc. So if there is some grass and pebbles, so it won't give a suitable strength These are the cheapest mortars but weakest in strength. It is used for brickwork of ordinary buildings and for plastering walls in rural areas. So basically, mud mortars are used in this your rural areas. If you see rural homes, they are made up of mud mortar. But there is one thing, you can increase the strength by you can do an experiment, or you can study on this. You can increase the strength of mud mortar by apply by introducing here rice husk, bamboo fibers you can use. That is also known as soil strengthening. Okay, that is another part of course. So these are the preparation of clay. Is beating the clay, mixing with hand. Here it is mixing clay and soil with water. Now they are ramming. Then this is the homogeneous mixture, clay mortar. This is an example of mud walls. Mud being plastered to wooden framework. So earlier, what they used to do in if you go to the rural work, they used to first make the outer framework. Then they used to they used to insert the mud in between this. They used to provide a board here, a board, or you can say they used to some preventive so that this mud cannot go back to that side. So they used to cast this mud wall. This is an example. Mud. This is the mud wall. This is mud plastering. Now they have shown an example of mud house. Very beautiful, no? It is very resistant. You can compare the resistance of this house with concrete high-rise building for earthquake purposes. Now wall with mud blocks. So you can also construct mud blocks. So they have constructed the mud blocks, and these are the walls. Binding materials. You can also form mud blocks as the way you can form bricks by placing that mud in this mold. So see, if you see these houses, all are made from mud mortar. Now cement. So let's discuss about the cement procedures. You can do one thing. I'm ending this meeting. You join after 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, I'll text in the group. Then join.